Hello everyone, welcome to IBE classes. Now what we are here for is about the international relation question that was asked in your GS paper 2, test number 1 pertaining to GS paper 2. Now the question that were asked pertaining to this one, international relation, was obviously the first question that was the first question that was obviously about this was discuss the significance of G20 for India and the outcome of G20 summit in India, right? And before that, we also have question number 6 was there. The failure of SARC forced India to strengthen BIMSTEC. Explain. Now, when you are given this question, now, first of all, what you are required to do is, first of all, talk a bit about introduce SARC, and then obviously you will proceed further, and then you will give the reasons why SARC failed, and then proceed with the answer. Like, if I'm going to write the things, or what you are supposed to write over there is, basically SARC as a country, it was established, SARC as an organization was established in 1985, right? In 1985, it was established, and obviously it initially comprised of 7 members. Now, the 8th country that joined it was obviously Afghanistan in 2008. The 7 nations were obviously India, Pakistan, then you have Bangladesh, Bhutan, then you have Maldives, then you have Sri Lanka, right? So, Nepal. So, all these countries, and then one more country came in, and that was in 2008, that was Afghanistan. To 8 country organization SARC was. Now, the full form of SARC is now South Asian Association, right? So SARC का जो है South Asian Association of Regional Corporation, right? So South Asian Association of Regional Corporation. This is the basically the abbreviation of the form SARC. Now, when we talk about SARC, when we say what SARC is, so SARC was mainly made for growing the political consciousness as well as consensus in the region. We a platform for a mutual relationship between the two, and even that extended to the economic cooperation between the nations, right? Now, for that, obviously, SAFTA was signed, right? So, this SAFTA was signed, free trade agreement was signed, and SARC was progressing well, right? But the thing was, there were 2 major countries in this organization, that is India and Pakistan, and both India and Pakistan have a very hostile relationship with each other. And this was the reason why right from 2016, as such, it had never been that all the countries' representatives or head of the states have physically met each other in a conference in SARC. Obviously, there has been a virtual conference during the COVID period, and in obviously 2014, obviously, we have seen that the SARC members were invited during the Modi's ओथ सेरेमनी. लेकिन इससे थोड़ा सा और आगे आते हैं, एंड जब हम बात करते हैं यहाँ पर कि 2016 से कई सारे अटैक्स, टेररिस्ट अटैक हमारे यहाँ पर, पुलवामा एपिसोड, देन उसके बाद स्थिति और बुरी होती चली गई हमारे साथ में. नाउ ऑब्वियसली द रिवोकेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370, ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स वर देयर, एंड ड्यू टू ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स नाउ SARC became completely a worthless organization. Now, as SARC popularity was diminishing, as Pakistan was continuously, putting one obstacles or the other in front of India. So, in 1997, one organization, that is BIMSTEC, was formed. Now, BIMSTEC was formed basically keeping in view of merging 2 regions together, and that was the South Asia with the Southeast Asia. In the beginning, it was basically BIMSTEC, right? So BIMSTEC is Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, right? Economic Corporation. So that's why it was named as BIMSTEC. Now, then obviously Myanmar came in. Now it became BIMSTEC. Now the abbreviation gave way to another form, right? It was basically after joining of Myanmar, it was Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, right? Economic Cooperation. Then obviously 2 more countries, Nepal and Bhutan, were added to in, or were added in it. Now it is of 7 countries organization. Now, now the is abbreviation has changed, and it is basically now the Bay of Bengal Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So now this is the full form of BIMSTEC. Now, BIMSTEC was obviously the need of the hour because we were understanding the situation at that point of time when BIMSTEC was being formed, right? It was obviously deteriorating. Now, Afghanistan, which was near Pakistan at that point of time, the Taliban government was running out there, running the government out there, right? Which was against India. Now, even in 99, we had basically the Kargil war with Pakistan. So the souring basically, of relationship had started, and obviously India and some of the other countries were looking for certain alternative. Now, we also recognize at this point of time that obviously we have to look east, and the look east policy need to be merged with the South Asian policy, right? South Asian politics. And this was the reason why BISTEC came, and then it converted into BIMSTEC. As such, today, if we see, it's a very beneficial for India. It's very beneficial for India because, first of all, if we want to say, the first important thing in this one is that when we talk about BIMSTEC, it is basically a merging point of two areas, South Asia and Southeast Asia. And one more thing is there, all the countries are basically, they have the either the proximity to the Bay of Bengal, or even the countries like Nepal or Bhutan, right, who are basically landlocked countries. Even they have the proximity to the country that is facing Bay of Bengal, right? Now, this is the reason why one could say that it is the link between the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal, right? Right from the Himalayas to Bay of Bengal, right? We can obviously we can define it in this way. In terms of economic cooperation, two countries like the Myanmar and Thailand, it's a very important because we have started Act East policy, and for the successful success of Act East policy, neighborhood first policy as well. So it becomes a merging ground of Act East and neighborhood first policy, and that's why BIMSTEC is important. Now, another important thing is in terms of economic cooperation, right? Now, in terms of economic cooperation, Southeast Asia is a booming economy as such, and its relationship with India is going to be very beneficial. Third point will be obviously for the development of Northeast region. Obviously, with good relations with Southeast Asia is of utmost importance. Plus the chicken neck that we have, right, which is surrounded by the member countries of the BIMSTEC, that is your Bangladesh and Nepal and Bhutan, right? So for the protection of chicken neck, that is 22-kilometer corridor and Siliguri corridor, what I'm talking about. Obviously, BIMSTEC becomes important. One more thing is for coming out of the over-reliance, right? So over-reliance on basically the chicken neck. What we can do is now this route can be used through Bangladesh and then through Myanmar. So again, for that, for northeast access to the northeast India, obviously that becomes important. So we have a lot many importance attached to it. Obviously, it's just 150 marks question, so I will be delving deeper into it. The thing will be very short, right? So now there are certain initiatives also that had been here, right? And this has been in the form of, we have the Kaladan project. Now we have the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, the four power, the quadrilateral highways as such. It is called the highway project is being developed by these four countries. Then we have the Asian trilateral highway, that is obviously India, Myanmar, and Thailand, right? So obviously we are doing a lot many things, a lot many steps are being taken, right? Now regional cooperation has been increasing. Now BIMSTEC has obviously in the final stage of free trade agreement as such, right? So with each individual nation, we are in the process of free trade. We have signed free trade with some, and one or two countries we are having differences with, like Myanmar, right? And even Thailand, there are the final stages of negotiations and all. Now, this was what you were supposed to write, and in the given situation, obviously, BIMSTEC becomes a more powerful and a more pragmatic choice for India in the current situation, because obviously some of the countries out there, although they are the part of Bay of Bengal as well, but they have soft corner for, China. So to counter China as well, this BIMSTEC is very effective, right? So this is the reason why what you need to write in this question. Now we will talk about another one. Question number 7, discuss the significance of G20 for India and the outcome of G20 summit in India. Now, first of all, when we talk about G20, right? So G20 was for the first time founded in 1999, right? And it was due to the Asian economic crisis, right? It was a crisis situation of 1996-97 that has forced to the, setting off of this organization, right? Apart from it, now when the G20 took place, right, when the formation of G20 took place, it was that all these power, the developed and the developing one, are both its member, right? And at present, it has 21 members as such, right, with the recent addition of African Union into it. So there are 19 countries, right, and 2 unions, right? One is our European Union and the second union is the African Union, which got admitted in 2023, the summit that took place in Delhi, right? Now, G20 becomes so very important for us. First of all, its economic importance is, right, it becomes a platform for great collaboration with the developed nation, right, from where, we can have access to those market. And the second one, we will have another set of market in the developing nations as well. So, because it's a beautiful amalgamation of developed and developed economies, and they are considered the top 20 economies in the world. That is why, right? So it becomes very important because, right? So this thing should be kept in mind while introducing it. Now, after that, when we talk about G20, so economic is the economic benefit that we get is first of all in the form of improved trade and commerce. Then obviously in terms of improved FDIs and FIIs, right? So obviously foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment, which is there in stocks and all, right? So that it would be attracting. The other thing is, right, several development projects, right, that is going on in India. Many a time we require financial help out of it. Now, obviously, as a platform, we could put forward certain thing which would be very beneficial as such. Apart from that, for connectivity project, for international trade as well, right, India will greatly get benefited from this G20. So this is why the G20 is very important from Indian perspective. 150 words. So थोड़ा सा ये सारा कुछ हम लोग लिख लेंगे. Even put some this point as well, right? That is the science and technology collaboration is also going to help because all major developed countries are out there, the members. The third factor that you could add is obviously it raises the status of India, right? And obviously it gives a ground for Indian diplomacy and to show to have India should have a say in the world order. For that, this platform becomes very important for India, right? So you can write all these things in this one, right? So when you talk about the first part of the question, that is the significance of G20 for India. So we will talk about the political significance, the geostrategic significance as well, right? And then obviously the economic is the most important one because the most important function in G20 is performed in terms of economy. Now, the second part of the question is, we had a G20 summit in 2023 in India. What were its outcome? Now, many outcomes were there. Now, first of all, Delhi Declaration of G20 was adopted. Now, it was for the first time during the 2 or 3 summit that without any much hue and cry over the things, but without much, voices being raised against the things, right? Or without any class of interest, right? So the Delhi Declaration was adopted. Second important outcome was a victory for India in terms of diplomacy. Because the main aim, because the timing of this was very bad, because Russia, one of our trusted friend, is basically become the aggressor part. He is basically aggressor in Ukraine war. So everyone, West is completely against it, and everyone was going to raise a voice against it, and they were about to make this a main issue. But what India did was it played beautifully out there, and it made sustainable development as the main thing to be discussed about, right? Rather than Russia being pulled here and made the villain or more sanction to be talked about here, because it would have been very difficult for both India as well as China to vote for it, right? So India has abstained from voting against Russia in UN, right? So this is why this was important, and we had the victory that the Russian Ukraine war was kept aside, was not given much prominence. So that was a diplomatic victory for India. The third outcome was obviously around for climate change context, and for the climate change context, we have the biofuel alliance, right? So biofuel alliance has been formed, right? So in terms of biofuel, America is the biggest producer of biofuel and obviously one of the leader of this alliance. India has also been the initiator of this alliance, right? Just remember, before that, India has been leading the solar alliance. Now it is also leading this biofuel alliance. So now this was a great outcome. One of the major outcome, a new union being admitted, that was African Union, which became its member. So another outcome was this one. Now, then another thing that had happened at this was in terms of economic, and that too in terms of connectivity. A grand project, that is basically India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. IMEC it is called. Now the countries have finalized this IMEC, and that's why India, European Union, Saudi Arabia, UAE and US have signed on it, right? So European Union, obviously country like France, Germany, etc. have also signed this project. Now this project is very important for India, because through Chahbar, it will not only give access to the Central Asia, but also access to the West Asia, right? And West Asia, plus it will give access till, Europe. So for fuel security, right, plus for economic development using the resources of Central Asia, the IMEC project is of utmost importance, right? And this was finally signed in this one. So obviously this was important one that took place. So IMEC was obviously a game changer here. We also have started the millet mission, right? So the more focus on the millet and such type of crops, and obviously we are here to promote it, right? So this is there. So all of these developments you need to write, because these were the outcome and a very significant outcome of this G20 summit that took place in New Delhi. नेक्स्ट आते हैं हम लोग, क्वेश्चन नंबर की बात करेंगे, एंड क्वेश्चन हमारा है discuss the Panchayati Raj. Yes, we have question number 14, 50 marks, right? That means you need to write here a bit in explanation, because 250 words are required to be written in this one. Now, first of all, the question is, how the Indian diaspora has emerged as an asset to the protection of national interest in America. Analyze it. Now, when we talk about diaspora, diaspora has been derived from the word diasporian. Diasporian means that is who has the scattered one, and later on we started it saying that from any native country, if people from a country go and settle in another country, which is not their native land, they are called a diaspora. And in America, we have a significant diaspora of about 5.6 million people right out there. Now, one of the largest diaspora in US is obviously there, the Indians one. Obviously, they constitute around 2% of the US population, right? Now, 2% of the population is very significant. if we talk in the terms of the harshness and so cumbersome processes there to obtain the citizenship of US. Now, if it another significant factor of Indian diaspora in US is these people are well-to-do people, right? They are holding, good post, right? Whether it's Sundar Pichai, whether it is Satyal Nadella, whether it is we have Kamala Harris, whether we have others, so many to name, right? So they are so significant people out there, right? And even the average income of the Indian is higher than any diaspora that is living in US, right? Plus, this is why they have a great economic say as such, right? They are CEO of a lot many companies like Google and all, right? Who was such a big, huge company as such. Apart from that, the Indians have made their mark and they are considered to be a respected citizens out there because they are proving to be so beneficial to them, right? Now, we will talk to the question after giving such an introduction as such. We will come to the question. And the question says, right? Now, question says, the Indian diaspora has emerged an asset in the protection of national interest in America, right? Now, national interest in America, if we talk about, so our national interest will be from all the angles, right? Now, national interest in terms of social interest, in terms of political interest, in terms of economic interest, right? In terms of cultural interest, right? So, it will be from all the direction. That is whatsoever is good for India, right? That is what we are talking. If we talk, first of all, the most important one, the political aspect we will talk about. Now, while writing, many of you guys who have attempted the test, they have solely concentrated on the political aspect. But, there are a lot many other aspects as well that need to be kept in mind while discussing it, right? Now, जब हम बात करते हैं इसके बारे में, we will be talking about first of all the political aspect. Now, obviously, as nearly 2% of the American population, right, is of the Indian diaspora. So that's why it is a powerful vote bank for the American government. This was the reason which is quite evident from Howdy Modi being organized, and for Trump, Modi was campaigning in US, right? Now, this is the first point that you need to write. So this shows the political power. Apart from it, many of the Indians, like Kamala Harris, who contested this year, he was the vice president earlier, who contested and lost to Trump this year in the presidential election, right? Apart from them, also many members of Senate as well as the members of Congress as well the governor of many of the states of US are basically from Indian diaspora. Now, all these things give India a leverage because they put a political pressure on the US government. So that's why US government has never been very harsh on India, and thanks for, for this political clout that we have in US. Apart from it, you could write about that the 123 agreement or the civil nuclear deal that had occurred between US and India, right, was one of the great work of the Indian diaspora, and it was the pressure of the Indian diaspora that has, paved the way for this pact or agreement that we had, right? So you could write to give an example with this, right? Now, apart from it, when you talk about the other aspect, political aspect, now you can also say that it is the pro-Indian push by the Indian diaspora that has been one of the reasons that the India has been chosen above other countries, and we can see now obviously Pakistan is being completely sidelined by the US and India has become the favorite son now. Apart from it, if we will talk about, we could also give the growing uh, partnership between India and US. Obviously, the reason is to counter China, but another factor behind it is the Indian population, Indian diaspora as well, who are pushing the government, which has led to the organization like Quad and I2U2 as well as other organizations. Even America's support for the permanent membership of the Security Council is all due to the pressure that has been exerted out there by the Indians, because the Indians now in US has are on their peak, and never the Indian diaspora had this much powerful impact on the government like they are having today, right? So this is one of the in political sphere that you could write. Now, the second thing that you are going to write is the economic one, right? The economic one, first of all, the largest part, right, of the remittances that India get from the whole world diaspora, the largest share is of US, right? So it is in our economic national interest, because with this, obviously, it is resulting in the growth of forex reserve, and obviously, as it is building up our forex reserve, which is good for economy, right? And that is why the forex reserve is getting high. And obviously, we are having more purchasing power right now. We are more powerful economically, right? So obviously, a hand in this is the remittances sent by the US Indian diaspora in US in dollar, which is a significant one. Apart from it, obviously, now many of the NRIs as well as the Indian people are putting up investments in India, and obviously they have been greatly inspired by the Indian Pravasi Bharatiya Divas that is organized, and they have, put up many investments in India, obviously both in terms of FDI and FII, right? So for that also it becomes important. Third one is, now the Indian companies are finding market, right? Indian companies are finding market in US, and this is why the balance of payment in trade between US and India is in a favorable position, right? So we don't think so, but it is so, right? So just remember it. And a great hand for it is of the Indian diaspora out there. So in economy, you can say about, obviously, these diaspora has created a market out there for the Indian goods, and Indian goods are gaining ground there. Even the Native Americans out there, they are basically what they are doing. They are even adopting those things, right? So this is how the things are getting the things are booming up for India. So this is good for the national interest, obviously, in terms of economy. If we talk about the social one, so in social one, obviously, although there is a side effect, right? But obviously, everything has two aspects, some benefits, some losses. Obviously, we have a such set of loss in the term of brain drain that is going to America's catering institution like NASA and others, right? But there is one more thing. Many of the Indians students, right, are going to US and they are getting educated there, and most often the Indian diaspora help them in such a situation, as well as this Indian diaspora serve as a role model for these students, and that's why many of the students are willing to update as well as get new technical knowledge to survive in this. This is going to help India also, because many of the people are coming back to India and serving India, right? Even one more thing is, now exposure to the culture of America, right, is bringing certain change in our culture as well, where more and more humanity things are coming. We are being, we are started becoming more rational in outlook. Now, there was a time when, right, when a dress code was of wearing certain dresses was considered obscene and immoral, but it has not been so now. We have graduated a lot, and again, the most inspiration comes from the diaspora, because some relative or the others are out there. Now, apart from this, we also have, as a soft skill, the cultural proximity has increased between the things. Now, the things like yoga, right? The Indian herbal medicines are finding great market out there. The yoga teacher in the US is the most sought after people, right? So even if you want to go, right, to US, learn yoga classes and go there and enjoy. Right. Now, this was what we would have written in this one. Now, next is after the question number diaspora, we have 15 number question that comes discuss the reasons for Russia-Ukraine war and its impact on India, right? It's a very important question that may be asked this time. Now, when we talk about Russia and war with Ukraine, obviously it was right. It was from the very beginning when in 1991 when Russia parted its way. Sorry, when Ukraine parted its way from Russia, that is due to the Soviet disintegration. Obviously, Ukraine was formed as an independent nation. At that point of time, it has a large, consortium of large amount of nuclear arsenal with it, right? And it was considered that it had the world's third highest nuclear arsenal. But Russia promised it that I will be there to help you out and I will, take care of your security. So kindly transfer all these nuclear arsenal to us. Now, you can easily understand if that nuclear arsenal was today with Ukraine, Russia wouldn't have ever dared to, attack Ukraine. So the things have started. Now, obviously, there was certain, unrest out there because after there was the president who was there in Ukraine was pro-Russian president, but the economy was going down, right? And people were, getting agitated in this thing because in 2014, what Russia did was it invaded Crimea, which was a part of Ukraine, and obviously it annexed Crimea. Now, this was the thing that made Ukraine understood that we are not safe with Russia. And that's why the people as well as whosoever came into power were completely against Russia now. So the one thing to tackle Russia was to increase proximity with the West, and West was more than happy to extend their hand to Ukraine because they wanted to reach to the proximity of Russia. Now, this was the reason why the pro-Russian president was thrown out of office, and obviously a comedian who had played the role of a president, right, Zelensky, became the new president. Now, obviously, he could understand the nerve of the people, and in the election campaign also, he said that I will be forging greater alliance with the West because I want revival of our nation. Right? Now, this is the thing that had started changing the scenario, and that is leading to the war. Now, obviously, the proximity with the West started increasing. Now, Ukraine applied for the European Union membership. It also applied for the NATO membership, although it hadn't got the membership yet, but it had applied the NATO membership. Now, in this situation, obviously, Russia got alarmed because signing of NATO, if Ukraine had become the member of NATO, that means NATO would have come at the doorstep of Russia. So it was a great security threat for Russia. So it had only one thing out there. Another factor was also there. And another factor for that was basically the second factor for that was obviously when we say that not only the NATO one was there, right? Because the other countries, Eurasian countries will also follow the suit and they will become the part of NATO, right? So the Eastern Europe area, especially, even it would have spread to the Eurasian area where the countries would be having, the NATO would have reached there, and that would be a great security threat for Russia. Another factor was obviously the Ukraine country as such. It has a mineral oil. Other thing is it is one of the largest producer of wheat, right? The cheap wheat production, it used to feed Europe a lot, right? Now, this was also a factor. Another geographical factor in this was it wants an outlet that is all-weather outlet, and it was through Ukraine. So that's why Ukraine was very important for Russia, and that's why Russia, you know, invaded Ukraine. This is what we are going to write in why this war. Now, next is the second part of question, its impact on India. Now, it started in August 2022 and it has continued till right now. So, it is more than 2.5 years around, right? So, the war is still going on and Ukraine has not been defeated or had succumbed yet, right? In this situation, now India is having a lot of impact as such. Some impact are positive and some impact are negative in nature. Now we will talk about the positive impact. First of all, the positive impact is Russia has emerged as the biggest exporter of crude oil to India now, right? So this is the change in scenario. And why it is positive? Because India is getting these oil not in the payment of dollars, it is in the ruble. What is the currency out there? In the ruble rupee ratio has been put, and it is the transaction in going on in a native currency rather than dollar. Now it is a great impact now because it is saving our forex reserve, right? As well as it is, Indian rupees are, Indian rupees are having a push in the market as well, right? So it's a favorable thing for India, right? तो oil import सस्ता मिल गया हमको यहाँ से रसिया से इस war के कारण. Second one was after the Crimean War, right? After the Crimean War, when Russia has annexed Crimea, after that, what had happened that India had started shifting towards US, and US had become one of our major partner as such in terms of defense supplies. Now, this one was used by China, and obviously China has come closer because China was the only economy that was helping Russia and it was investing in Russia. So China-Russia axis was growing, and this was the reason why China got Pakistan also into this axis, and it made or it convinced Russia to sell its arm to Pakistan, and then Pakistan has bought certain arms from Russia. Now this was a very bad development because on any given day, China, Pakistan and Russia axis was going to be proving more powerful than the Indian-US axis. So we needed a time, we needed a thing to balance things, bring our such a powerful force, right, with us, such a powerful friend back to us. And that's why we started doing things. First of all, we had a great deal of S-400 and everything. We gave a great demand, we have put a great order for certain thing, and that pleased Russia because it badly required money. Second thing was obviously in this situation, India avoided voting against Russia, right? And is despite sanction and all had continued buying oil from Russia. Now this is again cemented our friendship relationship with Russia. So these are the positive impact of this war. Now third factor is basically now even Russia could pressurize China to have a soft stand, and obviously this could result into a greater proximity of China and India, right, which is required if India wants to develop further, right? Now next one is obviously obviously that we see in terms of negative development that had taken place. First of all, obviously the routes and other things have been become quite disturbed. Obviously that's why in the international market obviously the oil prices have soared up, right? This is there. Plus Ukraine is the largest supplier of sunflower oil. Nearly more than 40% of our sunflower oil comes from Ukraine, which has been disturbed. Apart from that, obviously India used to import wheat from Ukraine, which are very cheap, right? And that's why India used to do that, and India used to export its wheat to some other places. Now what India is doing, that it has put a ban on its export of wheat, because now obviously the chief wheat has been disturbed. Apart from it, obviously, India faces the catch-22 situation in terms of diplomacy, because on one hand, it had a great friend in Russia, and if it you know, if it go for friendship with Russia or supports Russia fully, then obviously what will happen, right? Now it will happen that now US and the West will get antagonized with India. Now as US and the West will get antagonized, now again the Chinese threat could be countered not with the help of Russia, but with these powers, because both of them are friends. So obviously in case of war, Russia is not going to interfere in behalf of India against China, right? So that's what we have to make it very clear, and that's why we require West. On the other hand, obviously, if we go to the West, right, support Ukraine, right, and criticize Russia, then obviously Russia will obviously be antagonized with us, which is not good. Then again, the proximity could become a danger axis of China, Pakistan, and Russia, which is very dangerous. So we have to trade our way very carefully in this one, and that's what we are doing. On one hand, we are buying oils with Russia. On the other hand, we are signing, we are signing for a greater, collaboration with US as well, right? So this is called, basically this policy is called the siphoning out policy. So if you are writing your paper, right, so you can use this siphoned policy, isko kehte hain, right? Treat different countries differently, right? Okay, you both are fighting, I don't have to do anything with that. Basically, my relation with you is different and him is different. I'm not going to malice my relationship with any one of you, right, due to any cause between you people. So this is what India has beautifully done till now, right? So all these things need to be written in this one, right? So these are the impact that in India is facing, its military, its economic impact, its positive impact, as well as the negative impact of this war, right? Now we will see if any more questions are there. Russia-Ukraine war, and then we have role of civil subject, COVID-19 exposed India. So this was basically the question that were there in IR, right? International relations. So this is all for it. Now, obviously, we will meet again very soon with the next video that will be pertaining to the rest of the question that is there, that is polity, pertaining to polity and governance. Thank you.